Progress comes to Willoughby. It was inevitable that the progress of Chamberstown should spill out of its overflowing cup into Willoughby. The 30 miles of gravel from Chamberstown had been replaced with smooth blacktop, and with that improvement came a marked increase in activity in Willoughby. The trains still made their scheduled runs, for no progress can discourage them from their appointed rounds. But other things had changed. For one thing, almost no one gathered at P.T. Weigel's to see the Cannonball go through, although many times the store was filled with shoppers. It might have had to do with the change in the store itself. The old ball field across the road had been paved to make way for a new parking lot, which Mr. Weigel said was needed, for the new blacktop from Chamberstown had brought a lot of folk to Willoughby who wanted to get out of town a little. Mr. Simpson's Grove was the first to feel the iron fist of progress. When a man from town offered him $750 for an acre lot to build a house, Mr. Simpson rightly concluded that he couldn't afford to keep a picnic grove for the good of the community when the lot was worth such a price as that. So before long, Mr. Simpson's house sported a new TV tower and a color TV, and Simpson's Shady Grove development was a reality. Soon others from town had joined the first pioneer, and at last account the lots were selling for as much as $1,500 each, and only a few were left. I need not add that this greatly inspired others to join the boom, and soon Willoughby was no longer a sleepy little country community, but a thriving, progressive, bustling rural center. Mr. Weigel began to feel the backlash of community prosperity and was forced to remodel the interior of his store. Henry was in there after the changes were made, and it sure seemed funny not to see P.T. Weigel there to greet him with a hand clasp and a friendly smile. One of the carry-out boys explained that Mr. Weigel spent his time in the balcony office that overlooked the new Weigel supermarket, for there was an awful lot of bookwork to take care of now. Henry could see the shiny file cabinets full of records, and he wondered what happened to the old single book ledger that Mr. Weigel used to pull out from under the counter and jot down the trading transactions. Oh, Henry couldn't deny that the self-service idea was novel. The checkout counters surely seemed to make things move faster. Although he and Esther could now shop easier and quicker, somehow it seemed a little eerie that there was no one gathered on the porch to trade knives and small talk. The old wooden porch with its gloriously carved by hand benches where Henry had first sat as a boy to listen to his father talk had been removed. Mr. Weigel said he didn't want to encourage loitering in front of the store because the city people that had moved to Willoughby were in a hurry to get their shopping done. Of course, Mr. Weigel gave up gardening behind the store. He had to. The drive-through car wash bought his garden spot for $2,000, and as he said, you can sure buy a lot of beans and taters for that kind of money. Nobody could argue with that kind of logic. Widow Abbott still came there to trade, or I should say shop, because she learned that her eggs couldn't be traded anymore for groceries. But she was informed that there was still a place in Chamberstown that would take them. But she never found a way to get them there. As I said, she still shopped there, but was a little perplexed and a little frightened at the way things were. Mr. Weigel used to know where everything was placed in the store, but nobody seemed to know now, and she kind of missed Mr. Weigel's inquiry about her health. I guess the inquiry and the opportunity it afforded to unburden herself from time to time was one of the main reasons she came daily to Weigel's store. Henry said recently that he heard she had taken to her bed and wasn't expected to live too long. The thing most people hated to see go was the old Burnside stove. It had been sort of the town hall of Willoughby for 75 years. There had been many a village problem solved around its cherry red sides. It was still around, but it was at present delegated to a place in Weigel's warehouse behind the compressors for his fancy meat and produce cases. A new service station had replaced a single gas pump that had stood at Weigel's for years, and the People of Willoughby sure were getting things fixed up nice and convenient. Henry always seemed glad to get back to Whispering Pines, where there was peace and quiet. His trips to Willoughby didn't come as often nor last as long, and he seemed a little reluctant to talk about it. Esther guessed that it had to do with the time the gray mares were scared bad by some teenage boys showing off in their sports car in front of the store. Hilda thought it had more to do with the remarks the boys made about Henry being an old farmer, and the embarrassed look on Jeff and Brent's faces as they rode into Willoughby in their wagon.